So, Evan, this is Public Interest Podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Cooper. This is Evan Greenstein, a former guest on Public Interest Podcast, and we're now here together to have some fun and just do a PIP Journal episode. So, Evan, talk to me. What's been going on in U.S. politics in the last week or so?
Well, I guess I come from New Jersey. I live in Baltimore City now, but so I definitely tend to know more what's going on in New Jersey. My mom is a state senator in New Jersey, and she's running for re-election this year.
Yeah, how's that going?
It's going pretty well. I mean, my mom's been in for about 17 years, so
yeah.
I think she should be okay. Also, I think it's going to be a big Democratic year.
But she lives in like a moderate district in Central Jersey, right?
Purple district.
A purple district.
Correct.
And so, does she have any challenges in the primary?
No, in this purple district, there's really no primaries. I mean, there is a legal primary, but it's always uncontested.
Right.
The name of the game is the general election.
The general election. And she's won every election that she's run for the state senate?
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of threat does she have coming up in the general?
Well, she has an opponent, but the opponent really hasn't inflicted much damage on her. I mean, I think when you've been in for 17 years or 18 years, I guess at this point,
yeah,
you know, people sort of know you, and she goes to every single Kiwanis Club event and every single Eagle Scout event, and you know, you're running for office now, so you know the importance of going to that.
Yeah,
the people in her district...
You got to show up for that shit, right?
Absolutely. She represents a district with a lot of state workers. And, you know, state workers are pretty savvy because government directly affects them. You know, if the government is going to reduce spending, that's going to possibly reduce their salary or whatever.
Exactly.
So they're very attuned to what's going on. So it's a district where people want to see their legislators everywhere. But, you know, sort of on the larger sense, you know, you have the New Jersey governor's race. And I think this year, you know, the top three races in the off year right after the presidential, it's always the governor of Virginia, the governor of New Jersey, and the mayor of New York.
Why those three?
Those are the top three executive positions being voted on this year.
In the United States?
In the United States,
okay.
Right. There are probably other mayor's jobs, but certainly nothing like New York City. I mean, the mayor of New York City is
And so now Christie is gone. He's going to be out as of January.
Christie is going to be out.
And he'll go to the political graveyard for the second time.
Correct. Or I'm sure he'll go do a talk show or something. But his lieutenant governor is the Republican candidate.
Is he popular?
She was actually, it's a she. She's actually the state's first lieutenant governor. They didn't have one until
she basically was the acting governor while he was running for president and then supporting Trump out there.
But first of all, she's a former U.S. attorney. She was also actually a legal writing professor when I was in law school at Rutgers. So she's a pretty set. So she's formidable. She's formidable. She's a smart woman, but I think she did not endorse Trump in the election, unlike her boss, Christie, who was Trump's biggest cheerleader.
Was he Trump's biggest cheerleader? Like, I feel like he wasn't until he was, which is kind of the case of a lot of people in Washington.
Well, of course, he ran against him in the primary.
And when he ran against him, he wasn't
55 other people.
Right. I mean, he wasn't the biggest cheerleader in the beginning. He was just the biggest guy. He was just the biggest.
Well, he's always going to be the biggest guy, for sure. Well, they ran against each other.
Yeah.
And, of course, Trump beat him. And he was kind of a footnote. But then I think he was one of the first out of the box of the ex-candidates to endorse him.
Yeah.
But then, of course, when the Billy Bush video hit, I guess he was...
What was the Billy Bush video?
That was the grab him by the pussy thing, you know, when that hit. I don't remember whether Christie declined to defend him or outright condemned him. He certainly did not defend him.
Christie also liked to do that?
Sure, but I pity the person who was at the other end of that push.
So,
but in any case, you know, Steve Bannon just gave an interview to 60 Minutes where he said that Christie was on the short list to become a cabinet member, but because of the Billy Bush thing and the lack of proper defense of Trump, evidently that pushed him off the list. Although I think that, given that Christie prosecuted and put Jared Kushner's father behind bars, I think that had a little more to do with it than the Billy Bush video did.
That's some background intel right there. I didn't know that. Is that widely known?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, Christie was the U.S. attorney.
Better not live under a rock then. Huh?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. No, I'm surprised you did not know that.
So,
but in any case, well, and I think that those three elections, just to get back to governors, Virginia, Virginia, New Jersey, and then mayor of New York City. I think the big thing was, because if you look back at 1993, you had Rudy Giuliani defeating David Dinkins in the New York City mayor's race. You had Christie Whitman defeating...
Dinkins was a Democrat, Rudy being a Republican.
Correct. Jim Florio was defeated by Christie Whitman, who was a rising star for a hot minute in New Jersey. And then you had George Allen, who won an open Democratic seat in Virginia.
So you're providing examples of times in history when it's gone from where Republicans have beat Democrats, and a moderate time when the president... Well, that was Bill Clinton in 92.
Clinton had just been elected, so you had these three big
Republicans.
Democratic offices turning over to Republicans, which then became kind of the catalyst for, or partially seen as the catalyst for the 94 elections. But you said
this was going to be a big Democratic year.
Well, we hope. What I mean is...
This will be the obverse of 1994 contract with America.
Correct.
Because you had a Democrat and then a whole bunch of Republicans in 92-94. So now you have in 2016 the guy in the White House, and then 2 years later we're hoping for reverse contract with America. Democrats take it back.
Exactly, and we'll see what happens this year. I think that, well, first of all, I think this year the New York City mayor's race is sort of a non-event because Bill de Blasio appears to have the...
Although, interestingly, just earlier this week, there was some kind of event where Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, he stepped up and he was only complimenting how great Michael Bloomberg was in starting this school or something like that on the governor's island.
The governor of New York and the mayor of New York institutionally almost never get along. It's rare that you have a really good relationship going on there. But this relationship between Governor Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio has seemed particularly bad. But I think that now, had Hillary won, I think de Blasio might have been in trouble. But now with Trump there, I think de Blasio is fine.
Why would you say that?
Well, because I think, again, people tend to look outside tend to maybe vote for the party that's not in power. Again, the Rudy example of...
Why are Americans so reactionary, or is that just a feature of democracy?
I think it's just a feature of democracy. I mean, I think people like the idea of checks and balances.